So, Pez, I haven't had the pleasure of going to Kingvention. How long has it been running?
When did we start? So we've had
Yeah.
more now. I think we started in 2015 was the first one. Um,
Oh,
yes, of course, it was a celebration of 20 years of history. So sort of
wow.
after looking at this. So we started in 2015. We did 2015, 2016,
Mhm.
2017, and then last year as well.
Mhm.
And it's just grown, from what it started out. It just continues to grow. Um,
Wow.
and it's a massive, it's fantastic. It's a really great day. It's about 15, 16 hour day. Um, but it's an absolute roller coaster and I love doing it.
I can imagine. I can imagine. Oh, we have Jeanette joining now.
Perfect
And
time.
she's actually, I didn't know about it until last year. I will tell you, I was so shocked that anything like that was happening. Let's see, Jeanette, here she is joining us. And I'm going to open up one more of my windows. I need a little bit more light here. I'll be right back.
Jeanette has been to Kingvention.
Hi.
Hi, Jeanette.
Hey.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Pez. Nice to meet you.
And you as well. I believe we've probably met at some point.
Well, I haven't met you, but I saw you on stage at Kingvention. And thank you very much for it. It was wonderful.
Oh, I'm glad you had a great time.
Yeah, it was like a Michael Jackson renaissance for me. I loved it.
Fantastic.
So thank you for coming today.
No problem.
So Jeanette, I just gave Pez a run through of what we're going to be asking him, and we are live now without a hitch. I'm very happy about that. So I'm going to go ahead and change the view so that we're all seeing each other in a grid, and I'm going to go ahead and show our faces to the group.
Woo.
Okay, so let's see. Stop the share. And we're back and going to gallery view. Oh, okay. All right, so I guess we can get started.
Go.
Okay. All right, so hi everyone. We've been live for a few minutes, but I just wanted to welcome you all to the History 25 Book Club celebration. We're so glad we were able to put this together, and we're so happy that Pex Jax could join us. We just asked him last week and he said yes, because it's perfect timing for his book. So we wanted to showcase it and tell you guys a little bit more about it. So without further ado, I'll let you take it away, Jeanette.
Hi, Pez.
Hi, Jeanette.
Thank you so much for being with us.
No problem.
And it's very exciting because you've got a new book out. You've got quite a few books. And I thought what would be really good is if you could start by telling the viewers, the fans that might not know you, many do, because you're quite well known in the fan community. But for those who don't, and internationally as well, could you tell us a bit about, how you started being a fan and the different projects that you've been part of in the fan community?
Yeah, sure. So I've been a fan for, I was telling somebody this week, about 28 years, since I was about 4, and I received Dangerous on CD. Whoever thought to buy a 4-year-old a CD, I don't know, but I received it. And just from that moment on, it's just been growing and growing. I first saw Michael in 2005 in London. And that's where I really sort of got ingrained within the fan community. I'd been to a couple of events, and after seeing him, I was just so inspired and wanted to do more and wanted to get more involved. So I set up MJ Vibe in 2006, just because there was a lot of fan clubs out at the time and there was a lot of rules in place. And I just thought, well, I don't like that and I don't like that. I'm just going to set up my own. So that's what we did. And it's, still going today. From there, we evolved and we had Iconic magazine, which has run for almost 10 years now, I think, which is crazy when I say it out loud. And then, of course, Kingvention as well, which came along in 2015.
Yeah. And you've got books? You have other books?
Yes. So I had, my first book was Off the Wall, from the beginning, brick by brick, which really it came from a place where when the estate announced the Off the Wall repackage, And I remember reading the kind of breakdown and thinking, is that it? You know, he looked incredible in this era. Where's the pictures? Where's the additional stuff? So I just thought, you know what? I'm going to do a picture book. So I started calling around and trying to license all these images. And as I put them together, I felt really bad about taking everybody's images and then sticking my name on the cover. I thought, well, hang on, this is everybody else's work. I haven't done anything. I'm just putting my name on the cover. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have to write some stuff. So I sort of set myself a 3-month deadline, and I went and wrote sort of historical overviews for every part of his life from the beginning of his career right up to Off the Wall coming out. So that was kind of the first book, and the whole thing came together in about 6 months. Really drilled that one hard. And then I've sort of been involved with the collector's reference books, which Sebastian Mill and Fabrice, also known as Hector, they do collector's catalogues. So I've been involved in that and helping get that published and sort of writing bits for that as well.
Wow, very busy guy.
Very busy.
This is not your day job, right?
No, it's not. No, I work in marketing for a property company, so it's a completely different field.
Yeah.
You know, if I didn't have this, I probably wouldn't get up in the morning. So I do the Michael stuff for my sort of pastime, and then the day job as well.
Wow.
Amazing. Wow. What in 2005 was in London? Did you see him in London?
So he came, it was his sort of first public appearance since the trial, and he came to stay in the Dorchester. And I was babysitting my sister at the time, and I said, oh, let's go to London for the day and go shopping. So I took my younger sister to shopping, and we spent loads of money, came home, went online, and I had a news flash from MJ and I, if you remember them, saying, Michael Jackson's in London. I was like, what? I've just been there all day.
Oh my
So I was like, right, okay. So I got sort of cover for my sister for the next couple of days, and I just darted straight up to London with this tiny scrap of paper with a couple of addresses on to try and find him. And yeah, and then that evening he hadn't sort of come to the window or anything, so we were like, let's try and get him out. Let's go to every side of the hotel and chant until we get him out. So we did that, and eventually, so we sort of, I don't know how well you know Mayfair and Park Lane. So you've got the Dorchester Hotel, then a huge main road, and then a kind of island in the middle. So what, I would say maybe 500 fans sort of clambered into this island in the middle of the road, and we were chanting for him. And then the window just opened, and this hand just comes out and just goes like that, and then drops a handwritten note. So I mean, I can't give it enough detail, but there was literally a pin drop after that happened. And then people, just imagine 500 people running straight into the main road with buses and cars and screaming. It was insane, you know. So we'd found him by that point. So because it was after the trial, we were chanting DS at the window, and he was loving it. He had his fist out the window. He was punching the air. He was, you know, jubilant. So it was a really memorable experience and very intoxicating as well, I would say.
Yeah, lots of people have said that you can feel his aura like from a mile around.
You know, that's absolutely true. And a couple of years later, I was lucky enough to be in a hotel that he was in at the same time. And it's true. And, you know, unfortunately, there's a rather disgraced backing singer from the Bad Tour who said, when he comes into the room, the atoms change. And unfortunately, that's the only logical thing she's ever said, because it's actually true.
We know who you're talking about.
But it's true. You could feel when he came into a room, the energy he brought with him. And, you know, from doing the book and Kingvention, all the people who worked with him have said the same thing. He just gave off such an energy that it was insane.
Wow. Thanks for explaining that.
So how old were you at the time when you're talking about this hotel waving?
How old? I think I was 17. I hadn't turned 18 yet. So I started at 17, and then every time he came to London quite frequently, sort of after the trial. So every time it would sort of be, you know, I was at uni, I finished sixth form, went to uni, and then I'd be in a lecture and get a call saying, Michael's in London. I'd just get up and go. Like, I have to go. He's here. You know, there's always that time that you thought, if I'm not there, he's going to come out and meet everybody and I won't be there. So, you know, fortunately, I did get the chance to meet him very briefly in 2006. So it was worth walking out of a lecture for completely.
Oh, tell us about it.
Yes.
So just sort of backtracking a bit, when he came to London in 2005, he had a plan to go to see Mary Poppins at the theatre in the West End. And we sort of got a tip off about it. And so we headed down to the theatre, and all these police horses turned up, and Michael's security turned up doing a check of the perimeter, getting really close to showtime, and he didn't turn up. And unfortunately, Blanket had got sick, so he didn't come. So a year down the line, it was the day after the World Music Awards, and we were really late getting to the hotel. We were really tired because of the show the night before. And when I arrived, one of my friends was sort of at the front, and she was chatting with a member of the hotel staff. So I was sort of trying to get her attention, and she was like, "Just wait, wait." So she spoke to this guy, and then she came up to us and she said, "We need to leave and we need to go now." So I said, "Okay, where are we going?" She said, just don't speak. We just need to go. We need to move. So we sort of walked around the corner, shot it off, jumped into the back of a taxi, and she'd had a handwritten note from Michael that said, "MJ, Prince Edward Theatre, 2:30 p.m. So we were like, it's Mary Poppins again. It's like a year later, it's happening. So we sort of get to the theatre, and you know, there's 5 of us, we're the only ones there, and we're like, this is it. He's going to pull up. We're going to meet him. It's amazing. It's going to be great. In the course of waiting, I don't know what happened, but news got out that he was going to be there. So before he arrived, another 100 people turned up with paparazzi, and it was just this. I mean, there's photos of it online. It was just chaos, absolute chaos. Michael pulled up, and the press were there, and we were chanting "F the press, Michael, you're the best," and he dived out of the car and rushed into the theatre, and that was it. And I was so angry because I was like, we had our chance and it was gone. So one of Michael's security guards was sort of hanging around, and I just went up to him and said, "Can you just let Michael know? I'm really sorry about that. The UK love him, and we hope he didn't get hurt in the scrum." So he said, "Oh, look, it's fine." He goes, "Come here, look." Puts his arm around me and then just opened the theatre door and shoved me inside.
Oh.
So I was sort of thinking, oh my God, I'm on a student loan. I don't have any money to buy tickets. What am I going to do? So at this point, I'm just panicking. So he came in and he said, "Look, Michael's bought some tickets for some fans to see the show. Do you want to grab your friends and point out who they are, and we'll invite them in as well?" So I was sort of pulling my friends out, like that one, from the window, and they were bringing them in. And then we went down into the lobby, and Ramon and Grace were there getting popcorn. And the show had already started at this point, so we were ushered in and we were put in our seats, and we're looking around like, where is he? Where is he? And nobody knew he was there. None of the people in the theatre knew he was there except us. So eventually we've spotted him literally sitting just, the row next to us, and he's watching the show, and we're just like, oh my God. So I don't know what happened on stage. I was watching him. Yeah. And I'll sort of get to my part in a minute, but there was just so many moments where seeing him with his children and how happy he was, it just, it's a moment I'll never forget. He pulled Blanket onto his lap. He had his arms around his kids. They were watching this show, and he was just so happy. And that, to see him like that, he was clapping, he was singing, he was loving this show. And what he'd been through the year before, I think it was so nice to see him like that. So just before the interval, he just stands up in the middle of the theatre. And as I said, nobody knew he was there. So of course, everybody in this entire theatre has just seen Michael Jackson in the middle of the room. So the show's still going on, and people are screaming, and it's just chaos. So his security have just sort of ushered him out to the back room, and that was it. So, sort of everybody's panicking, and the theatre have said, right, everybody in their seats. We can't start the second half until until you're all seated. Everybody takes their seats, and Michael's not back. So people are talking and getting very excited, and this one old lady says, "I don't know what all the fuss is about. It's only Michael Jackson, for God's sake." What she didn't know, and I have a photo of it, is he is standing literally here behind her. He taps her on the shoulder. She turns around. He takes her hand, kisses her hand, and I'm not kidding you, she passed out like a light. She just
No way.
I have the photo where he's holding her hand just before he kisses her, and she went out like a light. So he was heading back to his seat after that moment, and I just thought, you know what, it's now or never. So I just jumped up and I just shouted, Michael, and he came striding over, and I reached out and I grabbed his hand and I just said, oh my God, I love you so much. And he took my hand in both of his and he said, oh, I love you too. How are you? And I just looked at him and said, how am I? And he just looked at me and I looked at him and I just couldn't say anything. And it was the strangest thing because he had a picture of himself on his T-shirt. And I'm looking at him and I'm looking at this T-shirt with him on it. And I'm looking at him and I'm just thinking, did somebody spike my drink before I, this is in, like, what is happening?
Surreal.
So I'm just looking at him and he's holding my hand and we're just sort of looking at each other, and he just started laughing and he said, listen, I have to take my seat. I have to take my seat. So I just said, okay. and he was laughing and he walked away and sat down, and you know, that literally made my life. So that happened on the 16th of November, and I named my company 1611 after the 16th of November.
I was wondering about that.
Yeah, that's the day I met him. So it was, you know, it was just the crazy, and it was text. We didn't have WhatsApp for anybody who's younger. I had a little flip phone, and I just remember sending text to my entire phone book saying, I just met Michael Jackson. It was just, yeah. And as I say, it was a very brief moment, a very fortunate moment, but well worth it.
Was he wearing the shirt with his yellow, when he's wearing the yellow outfit?
So
the 80s, the T-shirt with him on it, was it the one with the bow tie, the yellow?
No, so it was a white T-shirt and it had a picture of him in a red shirt, and then he had a black overcoat which he'd bought in Top Man a couple of days before. And so I tried to go to every Top Man to get this same jacket, and they said to me, since Michael Jackson bought this coat, it's gone. We can't. Everybody wanted it. So I was like, well, I'm proud he's still a fashion icon, but I wish I had one as well.
Oh my gosh, that story is everything. I think we all wish that we had a story like that, and the way that you describe it is so surreal. And I mean, you're a great storyteller. I felt like I was right there with you.
Yeah.
Well, there was one moment I sort of left out, which a lot of the ladies really enjoy this part. So when he left the interval, when he went into the Julie Andrews private room, and as everybody gathered, he was carried out by 2 security guards to go into the toilet. So he was literally carried into the toilet, and he thought that was hilarious. And as he went in, a guy just walked out and was going, and you know, you can imagine what the comments from the females were, that it was but I think he was more shocked that he'd seen Michael Jackson. Sort of imagine coming out of a toilet stall and there's Michael Jackson standing there. You just be like, sorry, what? So yeah, it was a crazy time.
That's an exciting story. Oh my goodness, I'm like bursting right now. I can barely contain myself.
I love hearing stories like that when it's the people are like, oh, it's no big deal, it's him, and then she fainted. That's the best. It's like he has that effect on everybody. Whether you're a fan or if you're not a fan, he still has that effect on people.
Exactly. It was like we said kiss of death after, because the way she went down was just, you know, poetic almost. I think, but he was so gracious with it as well. He smiled the whole time.
And he kissed her hand. Can you imagine?
Her hand. Okay, well, I mean, so that was the only time that you met Michael, right?
Yes, I came very close a second time a year later. I don't know if you remember, he went to Prince Azim's party. It was a party for a rich prince from, I think it's Brunei. I don't want to get the country wrong. So somewhere in the Middle East. And it was a very private party, very exclusive. And a group of 4 of us just decided to get in a car and trek up to Leicestershire and try and see him. So sort of got to this manor house in the middle of nowhere. And these guys just jumped out of the bushes in full camouflage and were like, get away from the building. We were like, what is going on? So we said, look, we're just here to see Michael Jackson. If he turns up, we just want to see him. And they're like, oh, he's already here. You know, he's staying here. So over the course of the day, the evening, we ended up befriending the security guards, and they said, look, if you come back tomorrow, when the party is, we'll try and see what we can do. So the next day we went up, and they were really nice to us because, again, middle of nowhere, they were giving us Red Bull and Snickers. It was very cold as well. And they said, look, get in the car, put these hats on. I did have the hat somewhere. And we'll drive you around the perimeter and you can see where he's staying. So I have all the, I recorded it all on my phone, sort of all the kind of voiceovers and stuff. And so we were driving around the perimeter, and then it came over the radio, Santa has left the party. So they were like, oh, Michael's code name for the event is Santa. So, so he pulled up outside this this cottage where Michael was staying. And he said, oh, we can't go. We have to stay here. So he locked the doors. And we said, what's going on? He said, Michael's pulling up just over there. So we're sort of sat in the back of this car, and I'm like, what is going on? This is crazy. And Michael got out of the car with 2 security guards, and brace yourselves to what happens next. So he gets out of the car, and the security is sort of, you know, running around him. Are you okay? And he's like, fine, fine. He's like going like this, like, you know, don't touch me. And he's wobbling. And so we're like, is he okay? And the guy that was driving the car said, yes, he's had a bit too much to drink. We were like, no way. He's walking from the car to this cottage, and he's just kind of swaying a bit. He's, you know, wobbling. So the guys keep sort of running up to him, and eventually he gets really close to the house, and there's a bush just to the right of the door, and he gets to the door and then just goes. So at this point, we're there was, as I said, there was 4 of us, and we were just screaming because we're like, Michael Jackson's on the floor, Michael Jackson's on the floor, trying to get out the car. You know, Michael's in the bush. So the guys, like the security guys, are going crazy, and he's just appeared from the middle of this bush, sat up, and just been like, I'm fine, I'm fine. And they picked him up, and he went into the cottage. So, you know, it was a very close encounter. I may have met him if he wasn't drunk.
Oh my gosh.
You know, that was the closest we got.
Yeah.
Oh,
Can't even
what to
imagine.
say?
It's like speechless.
Yeah, we've never heard a story. Well, I've never heard a story like that. Not quite like that. That's just, man, you got so many experiences with Michael or close to Michael. I'm so jealous.
You know, I wish I could tell you that it was all kind of, you know, I was the chosen one and all this sort of stuff, but I wasn't. It was purely luck. If I was in the right place at the right time, then I would see him. You know, I don't like to over embellish it or make out that it was more than it was. It was purely luck and chance, and, you know, just kind of being in his vicinity was enough. Great.
Oh.
We're jealous. In North America, we're jealous because he didn't really, you know, he went to the UK and Germany and wherever else a lot. So he went to Europe a lot.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, because we didn't have those opportunities. So we're just living vicariously through your stories today, which is really good.
So your book, The Story of History, this is coming out soon, everyone that's on the live chat, but you also have some other books that focus on the other eras. So I have to ask you, what's your favorite era or favorite album, I guess?
So my favorite album is Dangerous. So the fact that I chose to do a book on history, I probably should have done Dangerous. But for me, Dangerous is really where I feel that Michael comes into his own. You know, Bad is where he was kind of breaking away from Quincy and was sort of saying, this is the sound I want, this is the approach I want. And, you know, compared to Thriller and Off the Wall, Bad is sort of going more Michael, I would say, and less of Quincy's involvement. And by the time we get to Dangerous, I really feel that this is a record where he put himself into a record. You listen to the songs on it, and he's talking about relationships, but not in a way like with The Way You Make Me Feel, where he's chasing what sounds like a hooker down the street in high heels. You know, he's really kind of putting himself out there. And when you listen to songs like Who Is It and Give In to Me and Why You Want a Trip and Black or White, he is so emotive about how he feels about life. And I think that's why I get drawn to that album. And just the fact that it's so, if you listen to it from end to end, it's so up and down. You almost don't know what's coming next. You can't place your emotion in one place, because by the next song, it needs to be somewhere else.
Right.
So you can go from being happy to being sad to laughing to crying, you know, to feeling really angry to feeling really joyous. I just think it's a phenomenal record.
Fantastic. So your book, The Story of History, what could you pull out a couple of things that you've highlighted in the book and things that the fans should know if they want to purchase your book?
Yeah, so the book really focuses on the entire making of the History album. So I'm literally speaking from the end of the Dangerous tour right the way through to the end of the campaign. So all the singles that came off of it, all the short films, all the, you know, chart positions, the marketing campaign, how they made the cover, how they recorded the songs, how they shot the videos. So I just felt that in 2020, that album needs more attention. And, you know, whilst we're getting clothing and hoodies from where we should be getting the attention from, I felt that actually some of the art needed more focus. And so that's why I sort of picked up doing the book.
Fantastic. And so when can fans expect to get your book? When will it be available? And are there any differences between countries? I know you said something about France earlier.
Yeah. So the book is available to order now on 1611.com. And I think it's dispatching sometime early July. We basically I've been working today just to get a couple of unreleased photos. So that's why it's, you know, there's a couple of things held up in the pipeline, but we've managed to get those for the book, which is great. So that's the English version. And then the French version, I'm married to a French person, so I thought it's probably time I did something in French. So the French version comes out, I think it's July 20th, with a slight variation to the cover. It's just different format.
Okay, so it's available to pre-order right now, everyone, on 1611.com, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Were there any other questions, Jeanette, Tammy, from either of you? I think we are at time almost.
Tammy, have you got any?
If there's any fan questions here at all, but.
Oh, people are saying they already pre-ordered.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
So there you go. All right, Pez. Well, this has been lovely. I think we could probably share stories for another couple hours, but
Yeah, definitely.
we're short on time. But thank you so much for joining us.
No problem at all.
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much, Pez.